Hi, and welcome to this month's edition of Chat with the Sheriff. I'm your Sheriff Troy Dunn, and we're joining you live here from the Rice County Sheriff's Office. And I've got two great friends, cohorts here with me today, Andy Bohlen and Monte Nelson, the chiefs of Northfield and Faribault, and we're doing a COVID-19 special. So we're going to talk a lot about what's going on with our departments and what's going on in the community, and hopefully give you some tips so that you know that we're going to get through this as a community and as a county. So Andy, you want to greet the audience and start sharing some of your hot topics?
Yeah, well, thank you, Sheriff and Chief Nelson. Good to be here with you guys today. I mean, the world's kind of changing. Obviously, law enforcement is still out doing their jobs. We're still responding to emergency calls. We're doing things a little bit differently. I know our department, certain things have been scaled back. For example, the Take It to the Box program, where you're able to turn in your old medications. I know we've removed that from our lobby temporarily just during the COVID crisis. We're taking more calls, things that we can handle by the phone. We're able to do that a little bit easier. You may get someone taking information over the phone. If it's an emergency, we're still coming. Just like the firefighters and the paramedics, we're out there doing our job. We're responding to emergency calls. But you know, we're all trying to pay attention to that social distancing, not only for our officers and our first responders, but also for the people that we deal with in the public who may be a little uneasy.
So right now we have the stay-at-home order, which means that you're to stay at home and pretty much shelter in place unless you need to go out and get groceries, health care. And Monte, what are some of the other reasons that people can actually go out?
Well, critical sector workers are allowed to go out to work. And I think by now most people have talked to their employers or checked the state sites, the DEED website, to check their businesses and see if they are able to be open during this time. We encourage people that, and that does get changed with the recent Executive Order 33 and 34 last week. They updated some of those businesses and workers that can be, are now considered critical or able to have their businesses up and running, like landscaping. Check the state websites, because they are updating them on a weekly basis. And it's important that you go to the state for that information. It's your best source. And you can also go outside to exercise. And of course, use physical distancing. Stay 6 feet apart. Don't congregate in groups. You'll notice we're 6 feet apart here while we're filming this. And it is important to get out and about. That was specifically listed in the executive orders, and they've been emphasizing that.
And they're constantly making changes and updates to those executive orders. So I know right now some of the things that were changed today had to do with getting your boats and your docks and your boat lifts, those kind of things in. So, but there's a lot of places that are closed. So your bars and restaurants, you can't go in and sit down and have a meal, but you can still support them by doing the drive-up. And call ahead. The bakeries, there's bakeries in both communities here throughout the county. The restaurants, we want these people to survive and make it through this. And so anything you can do, I know I'm saving a lot of money by not eating out as much, but I'm still trying to support the local businesses, and we have them in both communities that need our assistance. So make sure you try to support them as well. So Andy, let's talk about what we've seen at the grocery stores and the Walmarts and Targets of the hoarding of certain items.
Well, you know, obviously, you know, there's a little bit of panic from everybody and a little bit of concern about what's the future going to hold for the people and how long are they going to have to shelter in place. And we're asking people to just exercise some calm and common sense and realize that there are people that need products, whether it's the paper products that are flying off the shelves, the antibacterial hand sanitizers and soaps. Realize that the production will catch up and people will be able to get a hold of that stuff. So, I mean, there's people obviously out there in need too. And one thing I'd say is if you got a friend or a neighbor, I mean, again, a lot of our state is listed as critical and essential employees, so there may be a majority of people that are still working, but there is going to be a good segment of the population that's not working right now, or maybe being laid off or furloughed, or people that are afraid, or maybe even some of our elderly folks that might need some assistance. So reach out to those people, and if you can bring them some groceries, you can bring them something, even leave them on their front door, we'd encourage you to do that, to look after one another.
That'd be great, yeah. Hand sanitizers are hard to come by. Masks, we all have our masks with us today that we tried it on when we go out in public, but this is something you might see, and this is not that we have it, but we're trying to protect the public and be proactive as well. So this is a non-surgical or non-protected mask, unlike our N95s that our officers wear. So this is kind of a kit that we put for our squads. So it's got the face mask, the N95 face mask, it's got the rubber gloves in it, it's got the glasses, and it's got a gown on it. This is stuff, we wear these quite regularly, but we were hardly ever wearing these things, and now we make sure that all of our officers and deputies have these with them. And so if we come into contact with somebody that is showing symptoms or is known to be positive with COVID-19, we put these on to protect ourselves, and then we have quite the cleanup after those calls, don't we, Andy?
Yeah, there's quite a decontamination process if you deal with somebody who's in fact maybe a confirmed COVID case, where officers have to remove the stuff very carefully. They have to disinfect stuff that can be reused. We'll put back into our supply stock. A lot of the stuff is disposable, so we'll remove it, and then officers will decontaminate it, and then we'll replenish our squad cars for the next call.
Monte, is it true that you have a bandana that you wear out in South Dakota as well, and then you can use that as a secondary mask as well?
Bandanas are indeed okay. Keep in mind when we're talking about these masks, with the CDC guidelines issued about a week and a half ago, is that anyone outside, if you're going to be within 6 feet of people, when you're getting groceries, going to the gas station where you can't necessarily control that distance, that you cover your mouth and nose. And it's important to remember that this guideline, the reason they put it out there is to try and slow the spread of the virus. So that mask, asking you to cover your mouth and nose, is not to protect you so much as keep you from spreading the germs and the virus, because they know that a lot of the spread is happening when people don't know they're sick, either in the early stages or they just have it, they're asymptomatic the entire time they have it. So this is the way all of us, just like the executive order, all of us can make a difference by following guidelines, following the executive order. When you're out and about in the public, cover your mouth and nose. Not necessarily when you're out in the park exercising where you're not close to anyone or you couldn't spread the germs onto a surface that could spread it, but especially when you're going out and buying those essential items. And on that note, you've noticed some of the masks that we're wearing here. This is a good example. This is from a group in Northfield. I notice Sheriff Dunn has one, and a pile of them that were probably made by someone here in Faribault, in the Faribault area. We have a lot of great people working, putting in a lot of time, a lot of their own money and supplies to make these types of masks for especially our medical providers, the hospitals, the clinics, the retirement homes and long-term care centers are the places that are really trying to get those masks out to. So thank you to all those people out in our communities who are helping us. I've said it several times. I think we've just seen the tip of the iceberg on what a great county community we have, what great people we have, and what great businesses we have that are going to even shine brighter than they are right now in helping us make it through this.
Absolutely, yeah. So Rice County is kind of being a collection point for donations. If people want to make donations to go towards first responders or to our care centers, health care providers, those kind of things, you can bring them to either Faribault, and you can drop it off at the Sheriff's Office or at the Rice County Government Center here in Faribault. And I know do you have a collection point in Northfield at this time, Monte?
Yes, we actually put out a message to some of our larger employers in Northfield last week, and we've had a couple of them. I'll mention Carleton College stepped up right away, and we're able to share some PPE that is going to be distributed or already is distributed across the county, including masks and gowns and gloves. And that's when I say we've seen some really good things, and we're going to see even better activity and donations and support from our local businesses in our community. That's just one example.
Yeah, and these were donated by a local member of my church, and she provided these to us. She started out with 10 of them, and then she asked would you like any more? And I said, absolutely. So she called today and said she had made 50 more. And so this is just awesome. We have church groups. St. Olaf College came down yesterday with a van full of items that they donated and dropped off at the sheriff's office. So that's going to get out there. So anything you can do would be helpful. The cleaning products are awesome. Much needed for our deputies and officers as well. So if you have those kind of items stocked up at your house and you can spare a couple and want to donate them, we would really appreciate that. So Andy, anything else you want to add or that we forgot?
You know, what I wanted to touch on was there's obviously with the anxiety in the world and in our communities, there's always concern about what is law enforcement going to do to help deal with the social distancing requirements. We've got some great community partners that have put out a positive message in various languages to touch our diverse groups within our communities. But ultimately, statutorily, there is a misdemeanor offense if law enforcement has to take action. There is a way to ticket somebody, but that's really not the goal of law enforcement, it's more education. You know, we do get complaints. We'll get complaints of kids playing basketball, or it seems kind of sad that you have to respond to that, but complaints of people in close groups or kids in parking lots. It seems to be oftentimes around our young people, which can be even more difficult as it gets sunnier. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we'll respond to those calls, try to, you know, educate folks on a 6-foot rule until our lives go back to normal. So we don't have a desire to ticket anyone. We have the authority to do it, but ultimately our stance in our communities through our different agencies have been to kind of positively enforce it and provide some education. But ultimately, we're really asking the public to remain calm, to follow these orders because they're in place for a reason.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we also are seeing more mental health calls and a slight uptick in domestic calls as well. So if you have friends or family members that are dealing with this anxiety and the stressors of this pandemic and might have had some pre-existing issues before and now this is just compounding it, make sure you reach out to them to help. And if you think they need more help, that's when you need to reach out to your local police department or the sheriff's office and call us to help, or get them the help by contacting the hospital and say, I've got a person in mental health crisis. If you have somebody in danger of domestic abuse or you feel that they're being abused, get them help, get them out of the house, call us. We need to be there to help those people because there's a lot of extra stress going on, and if people that are been victims of domestic abuse, maybe before they could leave and maybe now because of the stay-at-home order they might be laid off. Their significant other might be laid off and now there's even more stress at the house, so make sure you reach out to law enforcement. Know that we're still here 24/7. Nothing's changed with us. We're going to be there for you. And I just want to give a quick shout out to our EMS in our county and in our communities, and our firefighters are doing a great job working alongside us, as well as our healthcare workers. This is a thing that I never expected to see in my career, and I know that we're going to get through this. So, Monte, anything else you want to add before we go to a short break?
I think it's important to remember when you're talking about the domestic abuse, domestic assault, the Hope Center is still helping victims. Mm-hmm. They're available. We've worked with them just recently. One of their advocates up helping a victim, and they are available along with our public safety services. And it's important enough that they included it in the executive order. It's one of the specific exceptions is you can leave your house if it's a safety issue, and that's both for domestic assault type situations or other living conditions that are unsafe. So please keep that in mind. We do want people to still access public safety services. Remember, if it's an emergency, call 911. If it's a non-emergency, call the non-emergency number for your local police and fire and EMS services. But please don't wait or not call because you don't think you want to bother us or that we're not available. We're here to help keep the community safe.
Well, thanks, gentlemen, for venturing down to the Sheriff's Office today so we could put this very important message out to the community. If you have questions for us, you can contact us directly at our office numbers, or you can go on our websites. The county website is www.co.rice.mn.us. Also on the screen, you're going to see the number for the state EOC hotline. So if you've got a complaint where you feel that there's a violation of the stay-at-home order, you can go to that. Or if you have questions about who's essential workers or can this job be done, you can call that hotline and they can help you. If there's a complaint, they'll direct it right back to the jurisdiction it happened in. If you feel that you know it's a complaint, you want to deal directly with your local law enforcement, that's fine as well. So thanks for watching. We want everybody to stay healthy, be safe, and hope that you watch next month. We're going to take a little break and we'll be right back to say goodbye. Hey, welcome back. As you can see, it's been a little bit, and one of the things unfortunately that's closed is our salons and our barber shops. We didn't know how much we miss those guys right now and gals, so hang in there. If it gets much longer, guys, we're going to have to cut our own hair, but let's hope that this passes. And just like the song says, everything's going to be all right. Don't hit that panic button. Everything's going to be all right. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next month.